Hi, welcome to Cook Along with Renee, and today we have a yummy one. I'm not doing an intro like my usual videos because it's a loud house today, but we just kind of have a yummy stir-fry veggie and then a delicious kind of, I want to say like a egg soup without the egg. So really quick and easy using ingredients that you have around your house. So we're just going to get started. I'm jumping right in. Go ahead and clear off your counters. Mine were a little messy today. I had no time to prep. We had soccer practice tonight, and it's been kind of crazy. That's why I haven't come out with a video in a bit. But I wanted to try and get one in there. Soccer is in full swing, and it's right in the middle of it. So I'm ready to get it done. So go ahead and kind of finish that up. This is going to require an Instant Pot for rice. You can also cook your rice on the stove. You can just look up whatever your rice is for cooking on the stove, or look up another video if you need to, and then come back to mine. But I'm not going to go over that. In this video, I'm just going to use an Instant Pot for the rice because I love that it can just kind of stay warm in there while I get everything else done. I don't have to worry about forgetting to put the lid on or turn it down. I can just put it in and forget it, because I know you might think, well, that's really easy to remember, but not when there's screaming children and everything else going on. So I'm just going to get out a 1 cup measurement. I did get a half cup out and I switch it later, but that's okay. Get a 1 cup measuring cup out. Here I am playing guess the bucket, because I need to label my bucket so I remember where the rice is. We do keep all our stuff in big bulk buckets, and that we can buy in bulk and save a lot of money that way. So I'm just gonna I just have regular white jasmine rice, but any kind of white rice will do in this recipe. And I'm going to do 2.5 cups. Now I have 5 big people eating, and I did have leftovers with this recipe, just a bit. It always depends on how hungry my family is that day. So you might want to do 1 cup, you might want to do, 2. The rice will be kind of what fills most of the bellies. So if you need a lot of rice and you have a big family, just do what I'm doing. So here I am, I'm just rinsing my rice. I'm putting water in there, and I don't even use one of those cool colanders. I love how my head's going in the shot. If you want to see my grays, you guys take a look. Kind of blurry. Just rinse the rice and stir it, and then just dump it out carefully. And you can kind of like rotate the bowl as you pour the water out. I think I get the last pour in the shot. I realize that I'm blocking my own camera at some point, I think. You can get a real close look at my frizzy hair of the day. So yeah, just keep rinsing that rice. You might have a, rice bowl that you can rinse with, and use that if you have one. And I think I do it 4 times here. I just do it until the water looks clear. And here's where I realize I'm blocking the shot. So I'm going to show one more time of me rinsing the rice so you get an idea. You want the water to be pretty clear. And cool beauty tip, if you weren't aware of this, you can save the 3rd rinse of your rice, and it will actually, you can use it as a toner. You can stick it in your fridge. You can even ferment it. I've not done that before, but the benefits definitely come out when you ferment it. It just gets a little stinky. So go ahead and put in the same amount of water that you put of in rice. That was confusing. I put in 2.5 cups of water for my 2.5 cups of rice. Sorry, my boys in the background are starting to kind of get antsy, of course, right when I decide to record this. So if you did 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of water. If you did 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of water. Now I just put that on my Instant Pot. I put the lid on. I put it to seal. And then I'm just going to do the rice button. And that's going to be a low pressure cook for 12 minutes. You probably could manually set that as well, but I just do the pre-feature on there. Good old Instant Pot. Okay, so now I am getting out my cutting board so I can prep all of my vegetables for this recipe, as vegetables kind of are the main show. This doesn't have any meat in it. It's a really good fast one, especially if you have only do frozen meat like we do, and you don't have any meat prepped yet. So I am grabbing, luckily I got some bok choy. You could use regular cabbage, you could use Chinese cabbage, you could use any type of green. I mean, I don't know if I'd use romaine. You could use spinach, you could use kale, a Swiss chard even. I would just try to find anything you have that's green in your fridge, if it exists. If not, don't worry. But I got bok choy, and I think I use about half of a huge one, so maybe 1 or 2 little ones. And then I have 3 carrots, and I'm grabbing some garlic and a huge piece of ginger. I think I only use about a thumb's worth eventually here. And I am getting a couple cloves out. I think I just stuck with 2. So 2 to 3 cloves, depending on how big they are. And you can just pinch them real hard if they've been dried out pretty well, and you should be able to just peel the outer skin right off. No need to like slam your fist on the knife. I've tried to do that, and I mean, I kind of got okay at it, but it was honestly terrifying to me. So if you're one of those people that watches the chefs like bang on the knife and they're like, boom, garlic comes out of the shell, you can be like me and just squeeze it out. And now I am just getting the right amount of ginger. You can take a look. It is, I don't know, a little smaller than a golf ball size, and I'm just trimming off the skin. This was not organic ginger, so like I said in one of my other videos, I like to take the skin off because they spray a chemical on there that prevents it from getting eyes like a potato, and you don't want it just like growing because it changes it'll get soft, you know, like a potato would if it starts sprouting. So yeah, I cut that off because I don't like that in my food. And now I'm just chopping up my ginger, and I try to do it somewhat small because my kids sometimes have issues with ginger if it's too big. Surprisingly, my kiddo that liked spicy food didn't eat this as much. I'm attributing it to the fact that he ate like a ton of snacks at grandma's earlier. And my youngest, who doesn't usually like spice at all, ate like his whole dinner. So you never know what your kids best, but sometimes they do surprise you. So if you keep trying something new, you know, eventually they're going to be more open to it, maybe, or maybe they'll just grow up never liking it, and then you'll know. So once you finish chopping your ginger, I also just am dicing up my garlic. I feel like it stir fries better and doesn't burn. If you mince it, that's fine, but just be prepared to add it a little bit later because your pieces might get burnt, and then the burnt garlic taste is never the best. Brown is good, black is not. Okay, so now get your carrots and grab a peeler. I'm getting a little plate here so that I can put, you could grab a plate too. I like to prep my veggies, put them on a plate, and then I let those make room on my cutting board because I like to use small cutting boards. And then I just put those dishes, I either rinse them if the veggie's not too strong smelling and reuse it for something else in the dinner, or I just throw in the dishwasher. It's really easy, less work for me. So, and then my cutting board isn't all huge, and I don't know, I just love smaller cutting boards for my galley kitchen. I have big ones too, and it just depends on what I'm prepping. Okay, so now go ahead and peel your carrots. Get those looking good. I love carrots so much. I just planted my carrots in the garden and I am so pumped. I mean, I love store carrots, but they're not the same. Garden carrots are the best. And last year we planted even more, and we barely had any to store for the fall because we ate them all, which is good. So I'm going to kind of like what you'd call julienne, but not the professional French way. I'm going to kind of jimmy rig it, and I'm just going around and making them into strips as best as I can do, because this is for kids. It's not a cooking show. Technically, it's not a professional cooking show. I'm a home cook. So you can you can, if you're like, I don't know about that, just slice it in half and then just cut it down the way like you would for soup, or cut whole rounds. My kids, I get scared about choking sometimes, so I cut them into little sticks like that. So I slice them in one direction into little sticks. So I slice in half, then I slice it and go across and do teeny little cuts. Try to get them the same as possible. And then once I cut all of those up, I turn it again, and then I cut it in half or maybe in thirds, depending on how long the little sticks are. Just enough you can get it on a fork, pretty much. You can see I have a beautiful bag of Boulder potato chips with us throughout most of this video while I prep. And I didn't even have time to put them away from last night's dinner because soccer is crazy, and it was like a game, and then my husband has his weekend on Sunday, Monday, so I'm like doing game day stuff usually by myself. And the weekends are crazy because it's like trying to get projects done, and my husband has a physically demanding job, so he gets really tired and he just wants to rest on his weekend. And I'm like, let's go. I'm like, I have a list of 20 things that I have been waiting for, but he'll watch the kids for me so that I can get a lot of my projects done, which is helpful. Because I know if I rest, like, I don't get back up. I don't know if there's any moms or dads out there that like are at home parents, and yeah, if I sit down, and this happens sometimes, and now I understand my mother better. Like when she used to sit down, she's like, I can't stop, because if I stop, I will stop. And I understand now, especially if I get like my warm electric blanket on top of me, I'm like, I'm here for the next 3 hours. And it only happens on rare occasions, but when it does, like, it's for a long time. But that's good. It's good for your body to rest. Okay, so keep working on your carrots. I took an extraordinary long time cutting these, and I am recording over this, but my kids are like legit like wrestling and screaming, happily screaming in the background. So yeah, I'm just kind of dazed and cutting my carrots. Well, hopefully you are excited for Mother's Day. That's coming up. It's so exciting. I hope you have some fun plans, or plans for your significant other or for your own mother. It's right by my birthday, which this year's on a Friday. So some years it's on Mother's Day, which is cool, but kind of like now that I'm a mom, I'm like, oh, it's kind of lame. Like, it's all combined. It's like when your birthday is on a Christmas kind of thing, but it's okay. I make it a fun thing, and usually it's like just a big celebration weekend, and I like to go over, especially when my husband was working Sundays back in the day, I would just go to my mom's house and my mom and dad's house, and we would have like a big fun dinner, and we would just spend time together, and people would kind of treat us like, get us drinks and food and things like that. And I'm definitely a Taurus, so like food is a thing for me. As long as there's good food and like happy vibes, I'm down for it. Did anyone know I was a Taurus? If anyone's watching this that's not my sisters or family and they've watched this long, did anyone guess that I was a Taurus? Maybe you did. Okay, so I just chopped up my bok choy and I just pretty much pulled it apart, and you can start doing that if you're done with your carrots. And then I'm going to rinse my bok choy, and you want to clean it. I just do it in a bowl. I don't even do it in a colander because I really like to submerge it more. And mine was pretty dirty, which I don't mind because that means I know it came from the earth and there's less likely to be weird water on it or chemicals or things like that. Plus, if there are chemicals, maybe you're getting some of that off. Or maybe you have bok choy in the garden. Ooh. If you have cabbage or you're using a different type of vegetable, go like this, a leafy green. You can be chopping that right now if it's already pre-washed or from your fridge, and you don't really care if it's been washed. Just you can start chopping it. Just depends on what it is. If I wash it more than once, or at all. Oh man, make sure your water's cold. I know that's a pretty self-explanatory, but maybe some people need to hear that. You can see my lovely, if you look up, my wonderful dirty sink where I clean my counter and put that in there. This is like a real live cooking video. This is not going to be your aesthetic, although I love those. Like, I found a new channel that made a vegetable soup that I just started following, and it was a Chinese vegetable soup, and his videos were like, I felt like I just went to like a yoga practice, or I had just done a meditation. I was like, wow. I was like almost crying. I'm like, subscribe. It was so beautiful. So here you can see I'm really excited because my husband maybe didn't see that this was dirty from last night's dinner, so my cast iron still had gunk on it. So instead of just getting started, I am cleaning my cast iron. So for this, you don't have to have a cast iron, but I highly recommend it. You can use a wok would work. You could also use just a skillet, and then whatever you have. You could use a griddle that's cast iron even. It might be a little trickier. You could use a Blackstone, but I am just cleaning it with these really cool cast iron brushes. You can see there's a lot of gunk on there. So I'm actually going to get out my salt, and this is a cool tip I learned from one of my sisters. Shout out. So you just put salt in the bottom of your cast iron. It helps it season, and then a type of oil. She said to use coconut oil, but I'm scared my brush will never recover, and my kitchen's already kind of lit. I'm like, I don't need anything oily and icky. So I do olive oil because I feel like it rinses out of the brush really well. And then I just kind of works as an abrasive to kind of get off some of that gunk. It kind of gives some flavor to the pan. But don't worry, I kind of rinse it out a little bit so that you're not getting like, if you're making something sweet, it's not just like, ooh, salt. It's just a really good way, because you don't want to put soap on cast iron, for any of those who, want to hear this. So if you don't need to clean in any cast irons like I do, you could be just cleaning some of the dishes in your sink. You could be sweeping up. You could be setting the table. You could be reminding your kids to get ready for a soccer practice. You could be wiping down counters or putting some of your ingredients away. Wiping down a high chair. Man, I could just keep going. Anything in the kitchen that needs to be, you could clean the stove really quick. You have a little bit longer on that while I continue to scrub this cast iron. Maybe just do one little thing, because it's one little thing you don't have to do later when you're not, when you don't want to be in the kitchen. Like when the kitchen is closed for the night, you don't want to be in there longer than you have to be. So now I have rinsed out the salt a little bit in the olive oil, and I'm just sticking that back on the stove. So yay. You can see me wiping the sweat off my brow from how gunky the cast iron was. And even if there's like a little bit of left on a cast iron, you can just like heat it up and burn it and get it out of there and like re-oil your pot. That's how I always clean my cast iron. And I turned on the stove so you can see the water starting to evaporate. Make sure you have your fan running. So that's me. I grabbed the coconut aminos that I just showed you there. I don't do soy for some of my kiddos. I do salt. So go ahead and grab these things. Cornstarch. So again, you need some sort of soy sauce or coconut aminos. You need salt, especially if you're using coconut aminos, because usually it doesn't have as much salt flavor, I feel. And then grab your cornstarch. You could use potato starch if that's what you got. Anything to thicken your sauce. You can even use flour. Like let's say you're like, oh, this looks so good. Oh, I don't have any starches. Like you can use flour. I'm grabbing some red chili flakes, so go ahead and get those, and some black pepper as well. The water on my cast iron's kind of evaporating, so I'm gonna grab my avocado oil. That's what I like to use in this because it has a high smoke point. It's not good for you to use olive oil. If you're in a pinch, go for it, but you want a high smoke point oil. You could use coconut oil, although it's gonna maybe flavor it to be a little coconutty, which isn't bad. You can do avocado, which is pretty much tasteless. You could do like a safflower or a seed oil, but you could do palm oil. I'm trying to stay away from seed oils, you know, so I'm doing avocado. I don't recommend canola oil. I know you probably have, maybe some people have it, but if you have it, whatever, no judgment, go for it. And I did about a tablespoon, and I just used a paper towel to kind of wipe that down around my cast iron. And you could do the same with the wok. And I've realized that I wanted to add an onion to the mix, and I did not have any onion in my fridge. That's why you saw me looking in there, if you're watching. So you want to grab an onion of any kind, a shallot, anything you got, and go back over to your prep space while your pan and oil are heating. You can put that at like a medium to medium low, because you want it to get pretty hot. But if it's a skillet, it's going to heat up faster than a cast iron. So do not walk away if you have a metal skillet, or just turn it off. Turn it off, like let it get warm, turn it off, and then you can walk over to your onion and then just turn it, or turn it on low and go quick. Just be careful. When pans get too hot, it gets kind of crazy. Definitely been there though. So I'm going to do about a quarter of an onion, and I'm just going to dice that. You can cut it however you'd like. You can leave it in big strips or squares, but I'm going to dice it. So go ahead and just work on that. You can see I put I'm really big into composting, so I have a little bowl there where I'm going to compost all of my ingredients that I'm not using. You could also save it and put it in bags and freeze it for stock. So if you have like a rotisserie chicken carcass, or you just want to make a veggie broth. So I'm testing it with, you can see I'm moving gears here. I threw a little onion to test my cast iron, and it is hot. So if you have a skillet, turn that back up and look for onion sizzle. And I'm throwing in my julienne carrots, my garlic, my ginger, and my onion. I'm adding a pinch, just a little pinch of red chili pepper flakes. You don't have to add that. And salt. And, I didn't put salt in yet. I put a little black pepper in, sorry. I was like, I'm getting salt. Oh wait, no, I'm not. On my record videos like this, I'm recording after the fact, so sometimes I honestly forget what I did. So go ahead and give that a stir. Make sure you have enough oil in there that's kind of coating it. You want to hear some sizzle, but you want to make sure it's not too high that it's just instant blackening. I love cooking in cast iron. I never realized, I always thought you had to have a wok, which is preferable, but you can cook stir fries in just a regular cast iron skillet, and it has kind of the same idea of the non-stick and the seasoning. And I one day really want a nice wok, like so bad. I have a stainless steel one, and I thought that's what woks were. I'm like, I don't like woks. It always sticks. I don't understand the hype. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like older. I was like, that is completely different. So go ahead and just get, for the soup portion, you could use just straight up chicken broth if you have a box or can of it. I don't. Mine's all frozen because I make everything from scratch on this channel. So for the most part. So I am just going to fill up a little pot. So go ahead and grab a pot out for your soup. Fill it up with your broth. I do quite a few cups here, and I'm going to actually use my Better Than Bouillon chicken base. It has a great umami flavor. Did I say that correctly? I'm so tired right now. Yeah, hopefully I said that right. Sorry if that sounded like there was a pause. My son kind of bammed on the door and came in and opened the door, so you might hear some background noise going on. So yeah, I do about, I don't know, probably 2 heaping tablespoons worth, which maybe would be 3, maybe 4 tablespoons. just enough to get really good flavor in there. And I'm just giving it a good stir. If you just have chicken broth, you can open your can and pour it in. Your veggies should still be going. You could move it to like a medium to medium low and just let them saute kind of slowly while you're kind of preparing everything else. So that is on kind of a medium level with the broth. And I noticed my veggies were a little dry, so I went ahead and added a little more avocado oil because I want them to be kind of shiny. I want all of my vegetables and my fragrant I always say it wrong, but like I know there's a term for it. Someone write it in the comments for me, please, where you put, your fragrant things in your oil. So here I am, all of a sudden, boom, I'm outside. If you're watching, you're like, whoa, she's outside. I'm going to show you my garden. I have garlic chives. I'm just grabbing 4 or 5 of those. Green onions work just great. I also grow these great walking onions. If you've never heard of those, please look it up. They're like the onions that never stop. They grow in any climate. They're amazing. So I'm just grabbing the tops of some of those onions because they're so good to eat that way. If you have any onion tops and you are a gardener, go ahead and grab those. And my green here that I'm using is collard green. So I'll put all this in, the ingredient list in the comment section. But another green works here. So if you have more Swiss chard or spinach or arugula or kale, anything like that. So I'm just getting cabbage would work too, more bok choy. I'm getting just a bunch of the collard greens and the green onions. And here I have some arugula. So you can eat, fun fact, if you grow arugula, any kind, you can eat the blossoms of the arugula. You can put them in salads or soups. So I'm trying to grab a couple here. You can also do that with radishes. So if you let your radish go to seed, a big stalk will come out with leaves and flowers, and you can eat all of that. And it tastes kind of like a radish. It's cool. So I'm going back inside now that I have all my greens, and I'm grabbing my cutting board. So you might have just grabbed yours from the fridge, and that's awesome. Or maybe you're a gardener like me trying to save money and you have some greens. You could even, honestly, if you do not spray and you have dandelions in the back and you know what kind of dandelions you have, you can actually, and maybe it hasn't quite gotten a flower on it yet, because those will be the more tender leaves, you can just take some of your dandelion leaves out. They'll be a little more bitter, but if you get them before they go to flower, they won't be as bitter. So I have even done that because we don't spray or use chemicals in my yard. So yeah, I've used dandelion greens from my own yard. So I'm cupping. I'm cutting, hang with me you guys. I'm cutting my collard greens. You can cut them any way you want. I'm adding in the robs as well. And because this is kind of a tougher green, I'm going to actually put my collard greens right into my veggie dish. So this would be like spinach, cabbage, kale, any of those like thicker greens that are better cooked. I would throw those in with your stir fry. So take some coconut aminos and just or soy sauce and start splashing it down. I did quite a few shakes in there to make sure there was bubbles below. And you can hear my boys really acting out in the background. Story of my life. And I'm going to grab some rice wine vinegar. You might not have that on hand. Just a splash of anything. Apple cider, white wine. Just grab whatever you got and just give it a little splash in there. Okay, so go ahead and just mix in your greens. And it should be kind of like on a medium low, so nothing should be burnt. Maybe it's low. You can kind of start cranking up the heat a little bit more here, because now we're going to add, you could do a slurry, but because there's so much already on top, I'm just, as always, kind of poofing my cornstarch everywhere. I'm just throwing the cornstarch right on top. And this is the lazy mom's way of making a slurry. And you can do it too because it works. So if there's enough the liquid's at the bottom and your veggies are on top, or something's on top, just throw that on there. I'm adding a little maple syrup. So yeah, grab some maple syrup, grab a handful of coconut sugar, grab a spoonful of honey, run it over after you put in about, I don't know, a tablespoon or two of cornstarch. Grab a drinking glass, fill it up with a bit of water, throw it on top of that cornstarch, and then just start stirring it, and you will be amazed because the veggies just kind of create a barrier so it doesn't get too lumpy. And you just keep stirring it and add more water as needed. Like, you want to make sure it's more saucy. If it just all of a sudden turns too firm, then you might want to add a little more water, but that's it. That's like all you need for your sauce. And it's so easy. And that'll help give you, you could make a lot of sauce and add it to your rice, but mine's just this kind of like a coating more so. It's not like a huge amount of sauce on my rice. I wanted to do more just kind of simple rice. So my broth is still boiling. It's starting to kind of boil now, which is good. It's getting nice and hot. My Instant Pot is now off. You want to wait until about 5 minutes goes by, and once it's like on the warm setting, and then you can just click it off. You can release the pressure. You don't have to. I do, but you don't want to keep it on the warm setting because the rice will eventually kind of start sticking to the bottom. So just turn it off and let the steam kind of do its magic and get off any stuck rice. If you've forgotten and it's still on and you're like, oh gosh, you never told me to turn it off. And I can't remember where that was in my clip. I'm just talking so much and rambling, I didn't even notice. But yeah, if it's been like 10 minutes, that's okay too. Just turn it off. And if you have it on the stove, you're probably maybe done by now, and you can just turn it off and leave the lid on. So I did a really cool chop with my green onions where you just kind of tilt it and you cut your green onions at an angle. And I'm throwing those in right now. So my chives and onions, I just cut that way, and I'm throwing that into my broth and letting it simmer. And then I am gonna grab my bok choy. And if it was for adults only, I definitely would just like slice it once in half and then let us eat it that way. Did you get it, you guys? Let us eat it that way. I'm like the girl that makes puns and then I realize it way too late, but like always accidentally. Is anyone else like that? Maybe it's just me. So I kind of do all which manner of chopping these things up. You don't have to do it lengthwise. You can just chop them up into little pieces for little ones. It does make it easier. And looking back, I wish I would have chopped it a little smaller, but I really like, personally, when the bok choy is all together and big. It's just interesting in your soup, and I think it's prettier. So looking back, I might have done some smaller chops on that, and I will experiment with that more in the future. And this is kind of my take on, a more traditional Chinese dinner where you're gonna have a little bit of soup before and after your meal. So I wanted to recreate that in a way that I know my American kids would maybe eat. And I really love egg flour soup. Oh yeah, egg flour, that's what it, hello. I love egg flour soup, and without egg, it's kind of sad, but I feel like my husband even had some, he's like, is this egg flour soup? I'm like, he's like, you nailed it. I'm like, okay, so close. So yeah, put your greens in. Again, if you don't have bok choy, you can use spinach, or you don't even have to use that much. Honestly, it's about the broth and a little bit of onion. You can throw mushrooms in here if you want for that earthy flavor. But I like a lot of greens. especially in the spring. I feel like it's the time of greens. Like when everything is coming up, the bugs haven't laid their eggs on them yet. In grocery stores, there's so many greens and they're a little more affordable because it's local. You might have a farmer's market. Like they're more like prolific at farmers markets at this time of year. As the market, at least in our markets start next week, so I'm pretty excited because my garden doesn't always, you know, have the same things that these farmers have. They've started early. So go ahead and stir those greens up in your broth. Your stir fry, you can turn off. It can be off. You can put it on low. I turn mine off and then I just reheat it. Just my kids in the background asking when more food's coming, and this is the next day because it literally, my middle is asking me, oh God, all the time, like every hour or two, sometimes every 20 minutes. So I had some extra cilantro that needs to be used in my fridge. So you might see me just grabbing random greens and throwing them in. So it's cilantro. You can use sprouts, you can use parsley, you don't have to use anything. This is just an extra step of me using up stuff in my fridge. So look in your fridge. Recipes don't have to be, they can have little flavors or little different things in them, but right now in this economy, like just use what you have, use what's in your garden, and don't go out and buy extra cilantro just because I threw a handful of some old cilantro in there. So just put in what you got. It might taste a little different than my end result, but honestly, that doesn't matter. I think even parsley would be really yummy in this. So for this, I actually, because it's more liquid, I made a little bit of a slurry. So it was about a tablespoon of cornstarch and just a splash of water until it dissolved. So you already should have your cornstarch out. Just go ahead and make that little slurry in a cup. I use the same cup I did from the drinking water I added to the last slurry. And I added a couple shakes of my coconut aminos. You could do a little bit of soy sauce here if you're doing soy, just to give it that little bit of salty, yummy flavor. Now, here's the thing, test your soup. Always test your food, because especially soups, because a lot of times you don't have enough salt, or you don't have enough, or maybe you have too much salt and you don't want to add extra and make it a salt lick. So always test your soup. Here I'm just spooning a little soup into my cup to make sure I get all that cornstarch at the bottom out, because sometimes it likes to cling to the bottom of the cup. So my greens are really wilted here. I have it just kind of on low. I just gave it a mix. Okay, so now I am going to make sure everything is off. I'm all done. Hopefully yours is all done too. Even if you were kind of just warming up your stir fry, you can turn that down or off. And here I am going to get out all my bowls. So I have these bowls for my rice. And I am going to be using a to-go container for my husband, because he's going to be meeting us at the soccer field, and I like to bring his dinner with us. So I'm speeding this up so you don't have to watch an extra long thing of me serving food. Just depending on how hungry your child is or how much rice they like, your kid, put some rice in there. For me, my husband, my oldest boy, I put in a decent amount. And then I am just adding a little bit of the veggies, also depending on how much they like. My one boy likes coconut aminos, so I'm adding that to the rice on his. Now these boys can't have sesame or soy, so they're going to be on the other side of the counter. And I am now doing the vegetables for me, my son, and my husband. And I am definitely going to be using real soy sauces. It can't be beat for me. I love real soy sauce. I like coconut aminos too, but I can eat soy. So yeah, I just make sure that the other boys don't get into it. I love this one brand. I'm just trying to get the wrapper off the top because we were out for a while. And so I'm pouring that just over everything, in the rice, on the veggies. And I'm going to be adding extra red chili pepper flakes to me and my husband's because we love spicy. If you have some kimchi, this would taste amazing on that. Sesame seeds, toasted, untoasted, a little sesame oil. I didn't do that tonight, but sometimes I do just because my other son can't do any seeds. Give your soup a stir and grab some serving bowls for that. I like to go for smaller bowls for the soup. And again, I'm getting a to-go container for my husband. And I do put a towel around that to try to keep it warm in the to-go containers. I try to kind of insulate it for him. I am also using a little bigger bowls for me and my older boy just because that's all we had because our dishwasher was full. So, yep, here is the final product. I hope that you enjoy your dinner. Please like and subscribe for more videos. And here are some videos you might find interesting. Okay, have a great day. Bye.